Hello everyone, this is Lloyd Swartz coming to you again today with your weekly My Auction Addiction Addictive video. I know I told everybody in our local newsletter in Albuquerque I was going to do something on franchising, but I've decided to push that back a week. I always have a long list of things I want to talk about, and this week I'd like to talk about something a little different, and this is typical. Something happens that influences what I'm going to talk about in the particular week. In this case, one of my girls that works for me, Debbie, had a call over the weekend from a client. I was fairly upset about something they discovered. They were working through their mother's estate, and they discovered that their mother in just recent years had spent $750,000 on QVC. Now think about this. I'm not sure if everybody's aware, QVC is a home shopping network. It's more of a TV-based thing than an internet-based thing, which is kind of funny because years before, this particular lady had spent money on eBay. Well, pretty shocking considering QVC stuff really has very little to no value. It's usually just kind of, it's just not very good stuff. It comes in plain beige boxes. It's usually kind of as seen on TV stuff. And we can't find most of what she bought. And we don't even know where it's at. So it very intense, very emotional to learn that she originally moved her mother into assisted living and she couldn't pay her bills, and then you start going back and look at and find out over, a couple of decades, your loved one basically spent their entire estate on stuff. Dolls, extra pieces of put together furniture, whatever it is, just, toys, things that an old person doesn't even need. So this is hoarding. This is a certain type of hoarding. There are many types of hoarding. This is an example of a shopper, someone that just really goes out and just shops and shops and shops. It's some sort of therapy. Maybe they're lonely, maybe they're bored, and on top of that, they're a hoarder. There are also hoarders that hoard trash and garbage. There's hoarders that hoard high-end art and collectibles. So there's a wide range of hoarders out there, and then loosely, a hoarder would be someone that is collecting a lot of stuff that they don't need and holding on to it, and it's affecting their lives. In other words, their mobility, their safety around the house, because of, there's paths to get around, really hard to get around, that sort of thing. Maybe their health, because the house is filthy. It can. Hoarding can kill you through infections, through falls when you're older, and this sort of thing. So hoarding is a serious problem. It is definitely a disease. So why am I putting this all there? Well, many of you folks out there may be dealing with a mother, father, brother, sister, a friend that's a hoarder and now needs, either has passed away or needs to downsize, and you're just overwhelmed and you're not sure what is this all about. First thing to understand is hoarding is very common. I could have looked up some statistics before I came on here. Maybe I should have, but what I can tell you in our experience is it is extremely common. You may not live that way, but a lot of Americans do, and it's pretty sad. So it's not uncommon. Second thing is, I do see a lot of guilt within a lot of these families. We're dealing with 3 or 4 hoarders right now. And they're just like, what could I have done? What could I have done to stop them from wasting all this money, from living in such squalor and pain? And the truth of the matter is, and you can watch these well-known TV shows as experts go in and try to fix these problems. And I'll be honest, they don't look all that successful. And it's just one of those, it's like suicide, it's not your fault. It's like someone who has a severe drug and alcohol problem. They have to be ready to correct whatever their problem is. They have to be ready to move on, or you're not going to be able to help them. I've seen where families spent decades buying books, by going there at holidays, trying to do something so that they could help their loved one, and it just simply doesn't work. So it's not your fault. I'm going to give you a good example of it, a couple examples around hoarding and us working with hoarders. Obviously, once a hoarder's passed away, and we'll talk a little bit more about the logistics of it, but we just go in and do the job. We figure it out. When they're alive, that's tricky because even this one I was just talking to you about, tubs to the ceiling full of new unboxed. Even when she was in hospice care, she did not want her kids selling her stuff. She's in hospice care. She's telling her kids, don't sell my stuff in my house. It's really tough. However, we had another client just a couple of years ago said, here's the keys. Here's the contract. I'm out of here. I have an apartment. I've moved out. I want you guys to clean the place out. My only request is I don't owe you money. What does that tell you? She was ready. She got to that point in life where, for whatever confluence of things, she was physically ready and emotionally ready to move on. And we got done. We wrote, it was a messy place, but we still wrote her a $4,000 check when we're all done. So, worked out. Now, let me give you a couple examples of clients recently that were not happy with us. We got done, and they simply were not happy. One client, we hadn't paid her rent in months, was desperate to be out. Her husband had just died months earlier, and she was being forced to liquidate all the things piled to the ceiling that she loved. That doesn't work. Remember what I told you? Someone that's a hoarder, just like somebody who wants to cure themselves of drug and alcohol, has to be ready to make that change. She wasn't. We worked and worked and worked with her for months. We got it taken care of. We got her out of town. She's living with her kids. She's safe. She's happy. However, it was a major battle. And let me tell you just how desperate this situation gets. There are clients where we literally have to tell them that they're going to have to be evicted and their stuff will have to be hauled to the landfill by the bank. That's the only solution. It's horrible, but it does happen. We've had clients that we couldn't help. Their stuff ended up being hauled to the landfill because they were too emotional to sell it. So real quickly, when somebody's too emotional, so what are we talking about? Well, first of all, they're going, don't sell that, don't sell that, don't sell that, don't sell. And next thing you know, there's nothing you can sell. The second thing they do is they put up any kind of barriers. I don't like you. I don't like the internet. I don't like people coming over here. I want prices that are 3-4 times what the items are worth. So they place any kind of barriers. When somebody doesn't really want to sell, they place up barriers. And that's what a hoarder commonly does. So it makes it very difficult to proceed. So that's a common problem with hoarders. Another common problem with hoarders is they see this is an investment. I spent $750,000 on QVC, but I didn't open these boxes. I didn't do anything with it. It's still worth money. Well, it's still worth money. However, it's worth maybe a quarter or a third of what you paid for it, or half at the best of what you paid retail for it. And in this case, most of it's not even there. We don't even know where it went. But even if it was there, it's only worth a percentage of what you paid. It's not an investment. Stocks and bonds are an investment. Real estate's an investment. The things in your home and things you buy are not investments. Could art be an investment? Yeah, if you buy there's a couple good local examples of artists that have grown in value recently. But that's 1 in 1,000, right? So that's the important differentiation. Now, a lot of times hoarders, sort of as an excuse for what they've done, will make, this is my nest egg or something like that. We also had another client that recently that, well, the last couple of few years, where they were being forced out by health reasons and they were being forced out by robberies. Once again, when it came down to getting them out of there, it became a struggle. So very interesting. Lots of different stories here, but the same result. If somebody is being pushed to get out, or another good example, I was trying to think of, sorry, and that is a lady's husband died right as they're about to make a move. Wow, very emotional. Her husband's thing she wanted full retail value on. Prices were totally unrealistic. She got lucky. We were able to sell it because a lot of things were guns, which guns sell very well, and we were able to get through it. But again, it was the emotion of it being her husband's items that she was struggling to get through. So lots of barriers get put up. The key thing to know is it's not your fault. Your loved one was a hoarder. And the other key thing to know is they have to be ready. Now, so if you're now engaged in this and you're going, and I go to networking events, talk to realtors, and they think we can't deal with it. And they've talked to other estate sellers and like, no, we won't do it. We can help with hoarding estates with My Auction Addiction. Now, to be clear, if the person is alive, the first requirement will be they need to be ready. Second requirement, they have to be able to sell all this stuff. So in other words, many times what a hoarder needs is someone to be paid by the hour, or obviously a relative for free if that can be done, to sit there and go box by box and sort and find out what it is in that box they want to keep. We don't do that. The reason we don't do that, we're just there to sell the items, and it's cheaper to hire someone else and hire a professional organizer, hire someone that does this kind of thing for a living, and it's going to be more effective. It's kind of like we don't sell real estate; we sell items in a house. Well, this is an area where we feel like someone else specializes. So, assuming that's not the case, or assuming your loved one's passed away, now what? It's really, the way I like to put it is, it's just a matter of coming up with a strategy, how we're going to proceed. Maybe we have to pull some stuff out here, do it in multiple phases. Maybe we need a dumpster to clean things up. And that really brings down to the cusp of the issue. And that is, there's going to be value there. There's almost always some value. I had one the other day said, Lloyd, I don't want your services. I don't want to hear about it. I've got somebody, I'm going to pay $5,000 and I'm going to haul everything away and clean it up. I said, well, let me take a look. Well, we ended up cleaning it up for $1,500 and writing them a check after we sold $8,000 in stuff. So most of the time, nobody's going to owe us money. As a matter of fact, nobody ever has. There's usually enough value there, not always, and we will certainly let you know if there's not for some reason. Rare. But normally there's enough money. It's just a matter of what's it going to cost. You may have $10,000 or $15,000 there. It may cost $2,000 or $3,000 in dumpsters and labors and trash cleanup and stuff like that. And that those costs may continue on once we're done and out. You may be hiring somebody to do mold remediation, rip out the carpet. Usually these homes have been horribly neglected. Well, it is what it is. And a lot of folks, unfortunately, end up just selling the home as is and taking a big hit on, again, as we talked about, the big investments are stocks, bonds, real estate business, things like that. Well, here now, their key asset has depreciated because of the hoarding problem, hoarding the things that don't really have much value or, don't gain value anyways. So there's kind of consequence. But we realize that it's overwhelming and painful for you as a loved one, friend, family member to deal with a hoarding estate. You're not alone. There are people out there to help you. We're out there to help you get the house empty. That's what we do. We'll figure our hoarding estate's our favorite job. No, of course not. But that's what we do for a living. We will help you get the home empty. We'll come up with a strategy, no matter how creative that strategy may be. And believe me, I've got one coming up. I just sold a few days ago that's going to be really creative. That's fine. I mean, they're still going to probably have $80,000 in stuff there, so whatever. But it is going to take some effort. And so it's just a matter of strategy, time frame, what's the trash going to cost to clean up? How far do we take that cleanup? But where there's a will, there'll be a way. And if for some reason I'm reaching a hoarder and you're getting up there in years and you may need to consider your end of life situations, know that downsizing is healthy. It'll make you feel better. It'll make you enjoy those things that you love so much even more. And when your family comes in, there will be so much less overwhelm and so much less emotion, because every single item in your home can become an emotional attachment. Fewer the items, less emotional attachment, less overwhelm, the more happy your loved ones are going to be when you pass away. So that's always one of my top pieces of advice for any senior. And if you're a hoarding senior or hoarding older person, really think about not only how that hoarding is impacting your life, but your loved ones that are going to have to deal with when you pass away, or just the fact that we had a client the other day that I showed up and the house was empty. And I knew for a fact I visited with this gentleman's wife, and she was a hoarder. And he just wanted to talk. And we sold like 20 items for him. But he wanted to talk. He says, no, my family came to town. They found out why the kids couldn't come home for 20 years, and they lost it. They got dumpsters, and instead of calling you, they just threw everything away. Now, someone was drunk, someone was just clothes. I get that. But we sold like 20 items for $5,000. So, yeah, it was some good stuff there, too. This is what happens, right? I'm sure this wasn't her wishes. I'm sure she didn't mean to cause this pain for the family, but she did. So, advice to any senior, downsize as much as you can, as soon as you can, and as the older you get. If you're a family dealing with, or a friend dealing with a hoarder, give us a call. We've worked with them plenty of times and worked with those types of jobs. Let's talk about strategy. Let's talk about what it's going to cost. Let's talk about all the aspects, all the logistics, and we'll help you get it done. So, alrighty, guys, that's going to be it for this week's Mox Addiction Weekly Addictive video. I hope that was helpful for someone facing these sorts of situations in life on both ends. I will go to the franchising update next week. Again, for those of you watching or reading our newsletter, apologize for that. And then we're going to go, after that, another one on my list is going to be choosing an estate seller and choosing a realtor. Alrighty, guys, I appreciate you being here. Be sure to like this video and to subscribe to our YouTube page if you like these videos, if you find them helpful. We appreciate that, and have a wonderful week.